Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio. Happy Monday. Happy day after the Super Bowl. Hope everybody got a good night's rest. I am sporting the baseball shirt because that is the best part of the Super Bowl is that afterwards we can talk about baseball. So I know that my pitchers and catchers reported to spring training, I think yesterday. And so I'm looking forward to all the blog posts and reports and finding out what's happening down in Mesa. But I'm ready for some spring baseball. We're that much closer, you guys, to warmer weather, even though I do know that there is some weather headed our way. So let's dive into what these kids are learning about in classes this week. It is week 2 of February. We have a couple people who are going to have some off days this week, right? So it is our Friday classes in Liberty. If you come to the preschool fundamentals class or the creative explorations classes, either 4:30 or 5:30 on Fridays, there are no classes on Friday in Liberty. That is because Liberty Public Schools are off. And if the public schools are off and we can take it off without it impacting our schedule, we do. So that is why we are off school. Hopefully we reminded you in class last week. We'll try to get an email reminder out just to those classes towards the tail end of this week to remind you as well. And then you'll still get your 3 classes in there. It's just instead of your off day being at the end of the month, it's here right in the middle. Looking ahead to next week, so not this week, but next week, the Monday preschool classes in Platte Woods are off. And that's because it's President's Day and the schools out there and here in Liberty are closed. So if you come to the preschool fundamentals class or the toddler art and play group on Monday at the Platte Woods studio, next week you have an off day and hopefully everybody reminds you. But I want to mention it in this week's video because like right now it's 9:21. So, you know, this isn't realistically going to get emailed out and hit inboxes until 10 o'clock on Monday morning. And so I just want you to know now. We are watching the weather. I know that we've got some storm systems coming through. I watched it after the game last night to see if anything had been updated. The latest thing I have heard is that Tuesday's weather looks to be pretty mild for the daytime, maybe a dusting, maybe a few snow showers, but nothing big. Most of it's going to be impacted Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Like I think they said like really, really early Wednesday, like prior to rush hour, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning is when it starts. And then it's pretty much all the way to the afternoon on Wednesday. That was the latest news that I had heard. Of course, those models can already change. I know that they were looking at like 4 to 8 inches, possibly 10 for snow in the metro area. So we are going to keep an eye on it. As of right now, we're planning on being open. The good thing is the way the timing hits is Wednesdays are our lightest day in the studio in terms of classes. We've got makeups going on in Liberty. We've got a private event field trip, which is really easy to reschedule. Platte Woods, I know on Wednesday nights, you have your creative explorations classes, which again are super easy to reschedule because you've always got an off day somewhere in the month that we can put this class. And so the best place to get up-to-date winter weather information is going to be on Twitter. So if you don't have a Twitter account, go get one. It's free. I call it Twitter. I know it's called X, but go get yourself a Twitter account. It's free to sign up, and you can just use it for checking Orange Easel's pages. You don't actually have to post anything. You can sign up under any name. It doesn't matter, right? But it's a great bulletin board for us to just get information out quickly. So, so that's where we will post closing information. We will also try to get it posted into the Facebook group, the private Facebook group. And if your class is affected, we will send an email. So if you're in the class on the roster for like the night that we're going to be like, hey, we're going to be closed, here's the makeup plan. If that affects you, we will send an email to that class roster. The reason I tell you to check Twitter is because I don't trust emails. You know, when we're sending mass emails like that, they go to spam, they go to promotions, then people drive all the way here and they're like, I didn't get an email. And I'm like, well, you did, but your inbox hid it from you. Or it went to the email address that you gave us at registration, which maybe that's an email address that we all have them, right? Those are the ones that we use for like all the signups and not for the one that we actually check. Or it went to the other spouse, right? Instead of to ours. And so check Twitter, guys. You've been warned. I will send the emails, but 10 years of doing this, I will tell you, don't trust it. All right, here we go. let's dive into classes, and then we're going to talk about some important housekeeping at the end. So preschool classes, little note back here, no Friday classes, just a reminder. And for our visual learners, look, there it's written on the screen. We did some jelly plate printing last week. This is what this is a picture of. It's kind of a squishy gelatin, a synthetic gelatin plate with the tempera paint, and you do some masks or some stencils, and that was super fun with our preschoolers. This week, we're going to be reading The Kissing Hand. I don't know why I'm trying to do this from memory. I have it written down. We're going to read The Kissing Hand, which is a really sweet book about a family of raccoons and a little raccoon's first day of school and his big feelings, and then also his mother's big feelings. And then we're going to make some life-size art. So we're going to lay down on big pieces of butcher paper and draw ourselves by tracing around the outside. And then we'll get to color those in. So they'll take home poster size, bigger than poster size, your child size pieces of art. Very rarely do we finish those in class because it's just such a grand scale, but they're really fun to take home and work on at home with the markers or supplies that you have at home. It can be something that, especially if we do get some winter weather, something that you can work on those snow days. For our multimedia classes, it's week 2 of printmaking. So remember, those K-thirds are doing the collagraphs. This is, I showed you last week and I didn't bring anything this week, but this is that substrate that we're going to build up a printing plate rather than carving down a printing plate. We get those different elevations, and that's what gives us an interesting print. So we did some practice all week last week. So if you came to class, you got to play with the printing stuff. We didn't start the projects. We were hoping to just understand what we were doing. And so sometimes in order to understand why we're building a collagraph, we have to start at the end. And so we had some already made. They could practice the printing and just to kind of get their brain wrapped around like where we're going with this when we start cutting and gluing stuff. So we did some printing, we got out the brayers, we got out the ink. Everybody had a great time. Hopefully you took home lots of prints. If you didn't, they're probably here at the studio because I know some of our teachers were like, why don't they hold these? Because they're all really wet. So they might take them home this week. Those are just practice prints. This week, they'll start on the building. So there really won't be any ink or brayers or barons or anything out this week. It's all about building the collagraph. We've got scissors, we got glue, we got punches, like shape punches, and then that manila folder paper that gives us just the perfect right of stiffness, but still easy to cut. And we'll work on building a kind of a shape or abstract collagraph, and then we'll be ready to print the next week. 4th and 5th and homeschool are also doing printmaking, and they did something very similar to our K-thirds that we spent all of last week just printing, just kind of understanding it. Now, the difference was rather than printing pre-made collagraphs, we were printing, already carved out lino. And I call it lino, you guys. It's not linoleum. It is, it's a rubber, it's a stand-in for lino. It's easier to cut than that, but I just use them interchangeably. So we practiced carving a little bit so we could kind of get a sense of what those tools feel like. Because when you go to design it, you don't want to design something that is so difficult to carve. Like you kind of want to have an idea in your brain, like of what the limitations are as a beginning printmaker. And so we'll get the designing done this week. Then we will start carving. It will take this class 2 weeks to carve if we're doing it right, because it's fairly good size and it's slow going. We want them to pay attention, go slow. So this will be the first class where we really have all those carving tools out. Remember, those are sharp. So we're asking our artists to be mature with sharp tools to keep themselves safe, to keep everybody else in class safe. And if they can't do that, we have an alternative for them. They can either go with the collagraph printing project that the K-thirds are doing, or they can build their printing plate using a printing foam, which rather than carving with a sharp knife, you carve that with just a ballpoint pen or a Dell pencil. 6th, 7th, and 8th, 12th, same thing. It was like, let's print. A lot of these kids have printed before. They're excited to see printmaking month. They're like, yay. They remembered most of it from previous years. This is the first year that they will be making a multiple color print. And so the first week was really about wrapping our brain around what does it mean to make a reductive print, where we're going to print one color, we're going to carve more away from that same plate, and we're going to print it again in a new color, and then we're going to reduce it. We're going to take even more away from that plate, and then we're going to print the third color or the fourth color. So So this is like a layering process similar to what you would see with screen printing or silk screening, except for in a silk screening, you've got multiple screens. This would be the equivalent to that, except we don't have multiple screens. We're using one screen and we're changing it every single time. We're altering it in such a way that you can't go back and redo step 2 after you're on step 3, because that has been carved away and removed. It is permanently changed. Other ways to do this is to actually have multiple blocks. And so a traditional like woodcut print would not be reductive. It would be a wood block. And if it was going to be 4 colors, you would need 4 blocks, and you're going to carve each color a different block. And so that's another way of doing it. We're just doing it on the exact same block, and we're just going to reduce it down. So it'll be challenging, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. They played with all 3 colors or 4 colors. Some of them added black, which adds a 4th color, just to kind of get their brains around it. And then this week they'll start on their carving. The design for them is really up in the air. We're giving them the option. If they want to design something out and have a plan, they can. And if they want to just be like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it, and go a little bit more abstract with shape and texture, they can do it that way as well. Creative exploration. So this is our little note here again on creative explorations. For my Friday Liberty people, there is no class. For my Wednesday Plattwoods people, right now we're having class. But there's a really good possibility if we get 8 inches of snow, because we can take it off and just move you to the like end of the month. Like, I mean, we might as well, right? So just stay tuned to weather alerts, and we'll keep you posted on that, okay? This is the second week of those stations. This is a class in Liberty here for creative explorations. You can tell because it's Red Friday, and they're getting ready to do some jelly plates. Drawing 101, I did bring some stuff. Let me reach down here on the floor and grab it. So our Drawing 101 kiddos did partner portraits. This month is all about figure and portrait. We're condensing both into 1 month. So we started with portrait. And so they looked at a friend in class and we drew them. And I think they are super sweet. So again, I tried to pick ones that don't have a lot of green in them because I have a green screen going on behind me. This was actually 2 friends. They drew each other. I think this one is a brother-sister combo. And they drew each other. They were so fun, you guys. We had a ball drawing each other and trying to really notice the differences that we see in the facial features of our friends, of our teachers, like what makes us unique and amazing and special, and how do we represent that on the page. So lots of fun conversations, very studious. They were awesome. This week, we're going to do the whole body. So we're still going to look at the friends in class, but we're going to be drawing all of us. We're probably going to get out the dress-up clothes because that makes it kind of fun. So we'll take turns being the model and drawing the figure. We're also going to draw pretty big. We're going to use newsprint so we can get kind of big, and we're going to use charcoal. Now my 102s for realistic are also doing portraits, and that's what this is a picture of. You can see, I think that's what Taylor Swift on there, Queen Elizabeth, and I can't see, I think that's Marilyn Monroe at the top. That's Marilyn, I think. And that's Queen Elizabeth. And then of course that's Taylor Swift. So, so we had a lot of like black and white photographs of different celebrities. That was kind of fun actually at the beginning of class, was to hold up a picture and see if they knew who it was. Nobody knew who Oprah was in my class. I mean, I'm not really surprised when you don't know who Salvador Dali is or Andy Warhol when I hold up their photograph, but Oprah? So some really great stuff here. This is an artist who did 2 portraits. She drew a little bit smaller, and so she was able to get 2 of them done within the time frame. Lots of great form. So we were really working on with the 102s compared to 101s, right? These are different classes. People draw, they grow at different paces, right? Because we have light bulb moments at different times in our lives. Our fine motor skills develop at different times in our lives. Our ability to sit and work and focus for long periods of time, like that is a skill that just like it develops at different times. Not everybody hits the same milestones at the same ages. And so, but we all go through the same stages. And so from a drawing perspective, we really start with a lot of lines. This is a good example of a contour or a line drawing. So we got lots of great detail here, lots of expression, lots of lines. And then as we move towards the goal of drawing very realistic, we move away from lines and we move into values. And so 102 is really about shifting that mindset from line to value. In our illustrative drawings, we keep the lines because it's just a different style, but you can see her head here at the bottom has such great form. It looks three-dimensional. It comes off the page. It looks like it has weight and volume. And that is done through lights and darks, the transition from lights and darks and where they land on the face. So lots of great stuff happening there. It's another really great one. Now, our drawing classes are only 90 minutes long, which I know some of you are like, that's a really long time to draw, Allison. But honestly, it's not. So some of these artists, I may hold it up and you're like, well, they didn't use shadows, they used lines. But I want you to know they might have been getting there. They just ran out of time. We usually start with lines because we got to plot things somehow. But then eventually those, like as the drawing progresses, we move into establishing the difference between my cheek and my neck. Instead of having a line, we have a shadow. We have like, this is light and this is dark, right? For simplifications. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So great stuff in portraiture. Our 102s for realistic are going to be, get my notes before I tell you wrong. So this one was from photograph, right? We always draw from photograph, from life, and from imagination in that class. This one was from photograph, and then next week, or this week coming up, they're gonna draw from life. And so we'll do a self-portrait from life, looking in a mirror and drawing ourselves. My 102 illustrative classes, and I didn't grab any of their books, they're also working on people. This is a repeat from October, but we're going deeper with it. So in October, we really drilled into, like for the whole class, we did figure. For the whole class, we did heads. For the whole class, we did facial features. Last week, we did figure, faces, and heads in one class because it really just was a review for everybody who's been with us all year and a crash course for everybody that started with us in the month of January or February. And if you are that person that you're like, well, I just started, like, when do I get that lesson? Our drawing classes are cyclical. Like you don't graduate out of 102 after 1 year. Don't worry, you'll get it next year. For a lot of our 102ers, you're going to take this class. I was looking for a book, but I won't. You're going to take this class multiple times, 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Because every time you come back to that lesson, you're going to get something different out of it because you're going to be in a different place in your journey. So in this week's class, now that we've kind of just had a crash course in our figures and faces, we're going to put mannequins in dynamic poses because we're not just going to draw people just like standing up like paper dolls, right? We got to be doing something. And we can move arms and legs and limbs, and we can move the figure. We can also move the viewer. That's the power of the artist, right? So if I'm looking at it, you got a picture, like I got a camera and I'm taking a picture of something happening. I don't have to stand right at your eye level. I can get down low. I can move far away. I can move up close. I can tip the camera. Like I can move where my viewer is as well. So those are decisions that we'll make and we'll talk about in class. All right, my 103 classes, again, I didn't bring any supplies or any artwork. 103 illustrative is doing that dynamic group picture. So a group of villains or a group of heroes and in kind of a group pose, like they're like, hey, group selfie, and they take a picture. I'm gonna be thoughtful in our background. So they did all the sketching and kind of brainstorming. A lot of them have their characters already. Remember, all these characters are original. We're not like, hey, put Captain America over here and then draw, I was going to name another one, but I was probably going to get it wrong. So I'm just going to not draw another well-known famous character, insert here. Right. So it's not that, it's their characters in their story that they're putting together. And then they want to be thoughtful in their background. For this week's mini lesson in that class, we're going to have a composition lesson where we talk about the use of space. positive and negative space, and how we balance like a group selfie. Okay. And then our 102 realistics are doing pet and animal portraits. They've got photographic references that they're working from, and then they're doing them in chalk pastels. This is working really, really fast. Chalk pastels are amazing, absolutely amazing. They're very painterly. They go on really quick. And so there's a lot of our artists who might finish this week. So we'll be doing bonus work with them. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like I'm like, ooh, we're really far along. So we'll see if they're gonna need 2 more class periods, or if we're gonna do something else in 103 realistic for the next 2 weeks. All right, housekeeping stuff. So here's where we gotta go over some things. All right, step 1. Just a reminder, there are no Friday classes in Liberty. Yeah, don't come. Doors, I would say the doors will be locked, but they might not be. I might be here, but we won't have class. Okay, so no classes on Friday in Liberty. Makeups are still happening at Flatwood, so that's not affected. All right, this is my note. Please don't come to class if you are sick. You guys, we saw, like, there's a lot of crud going around. I did parties, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. And a lot of my parties were down. You know, they thought they were going to have 20. We had 11. They thought they were going to have 12. We had 6. Like, they're down like 50%. And I hear it from the teachers that like the school attendance is down because people are sick. And then we are seeing it in the studio as well. We do have some lower attendance in some of the classes, but we're also seeing people coming to the studio and just cough and cough and cough and cough and cough, or like green snot bubbles coming out noses, you know, like, you guys, please stay home if you're sick. For one, we're a small staff, a team of teachers, and if we get sick, we don't come to work. And that like, knock on wood, it hasn't happened yet where I've had to cancel because of sick teachers. We're always, like, so far, knock on wood, been able to cover that shift, but if enough of us go down, like, then we have to cancel classes because we don't have anyone to teach. So so please try to like err on the side of caution. For one, it puts us in a really awkward position because I do not love confrontation. Please don't put me in a position where I have to make a phone call to you to be like, hey, your kid can't stop coughing, you need to come pick them up. Like, that makes me hurt. Like, please don't do that. So I don't want to make that phone call, but I have to because it's my job and it's like my responsibility, but I don't want to. So please don't come to art class if you're sick. We have makeups for a reason. And if the makeups don't work, we will find another time for you to make it up. Like, I am so flexible. Please don't come to class if you're sick. Okay, so these are the signs. I just printed them and they're really curly. But these are the signs that are going on in the door. So to remind everybody, please don't come if you are sick. That must be all. Here we go. And then I just want to remind you the deadline for the Martha Lafitte Nature Sanctuary, that's MLNS, that's the abbreviation. That's a public exhibit. It is not our art show. It is a public gallery. And they are having a show that's going to last the whole year in celebration of their anniversary. I can't remember the number. It's a big number though. And there's a deadline. So these are in the studio. I know a lot of our teachers handed them out. They're also kind of in the front area for you to grab. If you have something that fits the theme that you would like to enter, remember, this is a juried show, so it's not a guarantee. You might be chosen, you might not. But if you'd like to enter for it, we have a deadline of this coming Sunday. All right. Hang on, I'm gonna look at my notes and make sure I didn't miss anything. We have our own art show, not to be confused with our own art show, which is coming up in April, and there will be more information. Oh, and spring break camps, you guys. those opened this morning. So if you are looking for something fun to do over spring break, there's not much. It's like, you guys, it's like 2 mornings. That's it. One at Liberty, one at Flatwoods, because we still have a full lineup of classes. But if you've got people who want to come do fun things during spring break, we got you covered. All right, that's all I have. I hope everybody has a wonderful Monday and a great week, and I will see you soon.